Thank you, Irani. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Let's get into it. All right, in today's webinar, we'll look at what's new in TaroWorks 7.4. We'll have a demo of the new features. We'll also touch on the upgrade best practices. Then we'll open the platform for Q&A session. So let's get into it. So what's new in TaroWorks 7.4? We have very many exciting features. So the first one is we have improved our user interface on the mobile application, as we shall see later. We're now supporting Android 12 and 13 in TaroWorks 7.4. We have a new feature where we can now have the mobile user take live photos and not reuse old photos. We'll also see how we set up that and how the experience is on the mobile side. Another new feature we're introducing is using GEOS Shapes, and we shall see how we use that and how we set them up. Another new feature, especially for the TaroWorks admin, is the ability to migrate forms and jobs between instances using TaroWorks. We also have enhancements on our performance module. We'll see, we'll take a look at those new features, enhancements. And then we have other improvements, including removing the character limit for the drill down hierarchy names. And we also have some dynamic operations improvements. So starting on with the mobile user interface improvement. So the first, our mobile application has a new face, and we have the new TaroWorks view logo, as we shall see later in the application. We have new homepage icons, especially the jobs and settings icon, as you can see from the screenshot here, and they're now more relatable. We also have updated the font styles, the color scheme, headers and button styles, making our app more intuitive. So we shall see that when we start with the demos. Moving on to the next one. As I mentioned, we are now supporting Android 12 and 13, starting TaroWorks 7.4, so that your TaroWorks mobile users can leverage improved features and technology from Android. So can now support that. Now, onto our first new feature is what we call the require live photo feature. So this prevents the reuse of old photos, thus improving data integrity. So I'm going to demo these features using our fictitious Aquacom company. So Aquacom is a fictitious social enterprise that works in remote communities. So what they do, they assess sites for well construction. They build the wells to provide reliable water sources. They register community members to each of the well sites, and then they can track the health progress, or they can even track attendance from the training sessions they have from time to time. Okay, so for our use case today, starting with the first live photo, so Aquacom is tracking the progress of a well site construction project, and the mobile users are required to take, among other details, the photos of the construction progress. So we'll see that in the demo on the mobile, both on how we set that up and then also on the mobile side. The other feature on the GEOS Shape will also see how a mobile user can create a shapefile for the area that's surrounding the well site, and also calculate like the area or the perimeter of the place. Okay, so let's dive into the demo of our first feature. So I already have, I'm logged into my demo instance here. So I have already, to save time, I've already created a form called monitoring construction project. So I'm going to just, sorry, the job side. I want to show you the form first. Right, so let's go to the forms. So like I mentioned, so we want the mobile users to see or to report on the construction progress of the well site. So I have a form that has some questions here. Section is construction progress. I'll be able to select the region. I'll see which site, well site. Then I'll be able to select the construction stage, and then I'll be able to take the photo. So we'll see how that looks. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch hats. Sorry, before I do that, sorry, let me just show you how this looks. So we still use our existing photo question type. The same way we have, when you add the photo question, you have the caption, which is the label. Then the question name will be auto-generated. Then you have the option to add supporting text or instructions. Then we can mark the question required or not required. So what the new feature we have introduced is this checkbox here. They require live photo checkbox. So what happens is if the checkbox is checked, we'll only have take photo option available on the mobile side. But if it is unchecked, then we'll have like the default view of either take photo or choose photo. Okay, so that's how we set up on TaroWorks on the Salesforce side. Okay, so let's now switch hats and become mobile users. Let me just connect. Here we are. Okay, so this is my mobile device. Okay, so this is the new icon for TaroWorks, as we had mentioned. So when I open that, you can see the new interface, the jobs and the settings, and you can see our headers. We've changed that. So I'm going to use this job, monitoring construction project job. So when you start on the job, we're doing a new job. Going to start on updating. So the first thing, using a drill down hierarchy, I'm going to select the region where this well site is located. Then I'll select the well site. Then this, I should be able to see the details I've displayed for the mobile user. And then now I open the form. So I already have my region and my well site name populated. So now what I need to have is select the construction stage. Let's say we are at excavation. And now you notice for the progress photo, because I checked the require live photo checkbox, now I only have the option to take photo. So what happens is, take a dummy photo, but what you realize is that you do not have even the option to go to either your files or your photo gallery to check or select an existing photo. So you are forced to take a live photo. So let's assume that's my photo for now. Select OK. So that's the difference. So the mobile user has to take a live photo when they're filling out this form when we set it like that. So maybe I'll say none. Then we can go ahead and sync. So that's the new feature where you require the mobile user to take a live photo as they select the form or as they fill out the form. I can actually show you. So then the rest still remains the same. We have the same way we display photos on the page layout using formula, so it will be still the same concept as before. So I believe this is the well site I just added, and that's the photo. Okay, so let's go back to our deck. Okay, so then we have the next great feature, which is our mapping functionality. So we have improved our mapping functionality using what we call GEOS Shapes. So with GEOS Shapes, a mobile user can now calculate the total area by walking the perimeter of a property. So as they walk, they can pick the coordinates, and then once they complete, then the system or the application then can calculate the area and the perimeter, and we'll be able to see how we set up that. This feature can also allow the mobile user to capture the coordinates by tapping on the map and not necessarily walk around the perimeter of the property. Let's say it's very big. Okay, so with this feature, you get more accurate location information, whereby you'll be able to like create polygons or geoshapes. Then also by when you use geoshapes and also the mobile user, visual verification, then they capture the shapefile and then sync it to Salesforce. Okay, so let me show you this that it's become more clear. So let's start on the Salesforce side on how we set up that. So I'm back to my instance. I'm going to use a form so that I can also explain the features that come with that. Okay, so I have a form I called create shapefile. So let's go to the question builder. So first of all, we have a new question type, which is the GeoShapes. So let's just add that as I explain the properties here. So as usual, we have the caption, which is the label, what the mobile user will see on their device. Okay, then we have question name auto-populated. We have supporting instructions are optional. Then we have the option to either mark that as required or not. Now, the new additions you can set, if you can, let's say you want to set a minimum required area, and this will be in hectares. So when you set this refers to the minimum area that the user has to capture so that it's considered a valid shape. Okay, so that's for the area. So the same applies to the perimeter. So if you set this to refer to the minimum perimeter that the user has to capture for it to be considered a valid shape. So they are optional. You can either set or not set. So that's one of the key features or properties of this feature. Then here we have two checkboxes. One, we have one that allows the user to save invalid polygons. So polygons here would be maybe the shape of the area. So if you check that, if you check this checkbox that allows the user to save invalid polygons, so an invalid polygon in this case will be considered let's say a shape that has intersecting points, such that one point crosses another, and it's not going to give a proper outline. So you notice this is not checked by default. So unless you really want to allow maybe that flexibility for the user to be able to capture invalid polygons where points are crisscrossing over each other, then you check that. However, the one that's checked by default, but you can also uncheck, is they allow tap to capture GPS coordinates. So as I mentioned, with this feature, you can have the mobile user either walk around the place as they get the points, or you can, if you allow this feature, this checkbox, you'll allow the user to tap on the map to capture the points and not make the user walk around capturing the coordinates as they walk. Okay, so those are the do you call them features or of this feature. Okay, so let's see now how that looks on the mobile side. Then I'll also touch on also a few properties on this new question type. Okay, so I already have this set up, so we just switch hats and go back to being mobile users. So the job I have is create shapefile. Okay, and one of the things when you're using this feature is to ensure that you have an Android device that has GPS enabled, okay, because that is what we'll use to capture the coordinates. Okay, so once we start here, of course, we have the region and the well site name auto-populated for us. Then I can start on the GeoShape so that I capture the area. So once you open that, so this, my location is on, so this is where I am. So you have the instructions here. You can long press to place the marks, so the GPS coordinates. Then you notice down here, as you draw your polygon, it will be able to tell you whether you have, is it an invalid GeoShape or not. So what I had set, if I can quickly take you back here, cancel out of this. So what I had set mine, I had checked allow tab to capture the GPS coordinates so that I don't have to walk to take the coordinates. And also I didn't check users to be able to take invalid polygons. So let's see how that looks like if I try to make an invalid polygon. So let's say I'm picking. So what I'm doing, I'm just long pressing on my phone so that I can capture the points. So let's say when you press the next one, you get another point. So as you press the coordinates, then the polygon is being created. So you notice, like for example, I have that. So if maybe, and down here you can see it's telling me it's a valid GeoShape. It shows me the area in hectares and also the perimeter in meters. So if, for example, let's want to try and have a crossing point, that's still valid. To show you an example when it's not. So because I didn't check allow invalid polygons and I have these points intersecting, then this switched to an invalid GeoShape. Okay, so if I had checked that checkbox, then it will still be valid, but I didn't check. So that's why it's showing now it's an invalid GeoShape. So let's see if I can undo that. So if I undo that, then I can now say, okay, this is the perimeter, or this is the area I wanted to capture, the area and the perimeter, and it's showing here. So once I click on this save, then you'll see on the device, it shows the area. It's already calculated both in hectares and acres, and also the perimeter shows in meters, and also it shows it's a valid shape as per the criteria that I set up. Okay, so for the new question type, which is the, maybe syncing this. For the new question type, come back here, GeoShape, it is compatible with the text area long in Salesforce. So that's when we're doing the field mapping, that's where we would map it to a long text area long, sorry. Then the other thing to note is that this will work offline, you know, as part of capturing the coordinate to work offline. The only time I need connectivity is when I need to sync, when I'm syncing to Salesforce, that's when I'll need connectivity. Then, as we mentioned, the Android devices must have GPS enabled, must be able to capture GPS. Then, excuse me, there's no limit to the number of coordinates a user can capture per polygon. So you can mark as many GPS points as possible. So there's no limit. And also there's no limit to the number of geoshapes that a user can capture in a form. Okay, so one thing to mention, if I come back to I use the second one. So you notice that this is what shows on Salesforce. So you will need to use a third-party platform to view this GeoShape. And an example is example of this is GeoJSON. Okay, so with this, then what would happen is that I'll need to capture all this, then have it here. So this is now for the backend user to be able to see which feature the mobile user captured. So you need to use a third-party platform that will, we can interpret that value that is mapped on Salesforce to this kind of data that you can see, or this kind of shape. I'm going to take a pause and check, Iran, if there are any questions on the two features we have showcased.
Yes, we have a question from Matt. He's asking if this GeoShape question type works offline.
Yes, so it works offline when the mobile user is capturing the shapes here. Yeah. When we're in the process of capturing that shape, you work offline. The only time you need connectivity is when you're doing the syncing. So at the point of capturing the points here, you can do that offline. But when you get to syncing, then you need connectivity to sync to Salesforce.
Thanks, Tabs.
All right. We can proceed.
We have another question from Patrick. Yeah, thank you. Can the other attributes of the GEOS shape can be mapped to Salesforce fields like area, perimeter?
So for now, because the mapping comes as I'm trying to like the best way to describe this. They can't be mapped like directly. However, that's a good question. We can follow up with the product team and then get back to you with a conclusive answer. If we can map this separate, like you mean the area, perimeter in separate fields. So allow us to clarify with product and get back to you.
Thank you, Tabs.
All right. You have another question, or we can proceed?
We can proceed for now. Thank you.
Awesome. Good. Thanks. Thank you for the questions. So let me pull back my deck. Let's see, doing this. Okay. So we've talked about that. So then another exciting feature we have is the ability to migrate forms and jobs from one instance to another using TaroWorks. Okay. So before we get to the demo of this feature, some points to note is that forms and jobs can be downloaded across their different status. So you can download forms and jobs either in draft, updating, published, or closed status. However, when they are imported now into the other org or into the same org, they'll be in draft status by default. Okay, so that's one of the things to note. Then I'm sure one of the questions would be, one of the things would be, if I'm exporting a form from an org and then importing it back the same org, this will sound more like, it sounds like it's similar to cloning. However, when you're exporting a form, you can specify the version that you want to download or export and then import. So that's the difference with the forms. Downloading and importing, you can be specific about the version that you want. Well, cloning only, for cloning, you only clone the latest version of the form. Okay. Something else I have listed here is that you can import cascading select, logic and scoring. They work the same within the same org or across the orgs. However, you must have the same values same in both instances. So whenever you're doing this migration, for example, you must ensure the same object exists in both instances. So that it will be a success. You'll be able to successfully download and import forms and jobs. Okay, so let's get to the demo of this. So in the interest of time, what I'll do, I'll just show you how we download form in a job. However, I'll still be importing it in the same instance. But it should work the same, even if you're doing it in a different instance, only that you have to ensure that the same objects and fields exist in both instances, or they exist in the instance where you're going to import the forms and jobs. So let's start with the forms. Okay, so for forms, what do you call them? Downloading forms. You can download the forms either. So when I talk about download, it's either download or exporting from two faces. So you can download the form from this form view, whereby I'll say, okay, let me pick this one. Okay, so let me actually pick this one that's published. So you can either download it from this point. Okay, and you notice you have two versions, but they I don't say they are the same, but they work the same. It's just that one version is, can I say, more technical, and then it can be exported into other systems. That's the JSON, can be exported into other external systems, but then the XLS is less technical, let me put it that way, but they both work the same, whichever one you download. So let's first download, I was explaining, so you can download it from either that, this interface, sorry. So this interface, when you download it from this interface, then you download the latest version. However, if you go to the form preview, when you have version, you can specify which version you want to download and then now download it from this point. So that's the difference. When you preview, you download from the preview side, you can specify which version you want to download, especially if you're looking for older versions. But then when you download it from this interface, then you'll be getting the latest version. Okay. So, and then you'll notice that once we have download our forms and jobs, they have the date stamp. I believe this is the date stamp attached to the name of the form or the job. So once we download the form, so if you are going to now, let's say, migrate it to another instance, we would log into that other second instance and then click on import form. Okay, then I'll go and find my downloaded form and click open. Then you get the prompt that successfully imported the form. And then when you click OK, the page should refresh and show me the new, or rather the imported form. So with this, then if I wanted to maybe do any manipulation or make any changes, then it becomes easier than starting from scratch. Okay, so that's the forms. So you download the form, you choose either you're downloading from this form interface or you preview the form to download a specific version, an older version needed. Then when you go to the jobs, so the jobs export or download, you can only do this from the jobs page. Okay, so with the jobs page, if I was you wanted to still maybe download the same, can download. So the job only has one interface where we can download that job. And then there's one step you need to do. So after you download the job, let's say if I'm still importing it in the same instance, I need to refresh the jobs page before I import. But this is only if we are importing it into the same instance. Then I'll do the same step. I'll follow the same steps like the forms. In this case, import the job. And then I believe this is the job here. And then I'll get the prompt, finished importing the job, and then I have my job here. So you notice as much as the jobs were in published status, both the jobs and the forms, when I import them, they're now in draft status. And then I can make maybe the changes I needed and then proceed to publishing them. Irani, any question on the forms and jobs migration?
Yes, we have a question from Patrick. He's asking if we can import a new form version to an existing form.
Yes, if I got that right, I believe that's exactly what I did in this case. I had a new form version. Where are the forms here? I only had one version, and then I was able to import it back in the same instance. Does that answer the question? Excuse me.
Yes, we have other question from Ismael. He's asking if you can open a downloaded form for us just to see how it looks like.
Okay, sure. need to see which. Okay, the form. So this I would have to open with Notepad. So this is because the version I downloaded was in JSON, might not be the best user-friendly view, but this is how it looks.
Cool, thanks, Tabs.
Okay.
The question we have from more than 2 attendees today is if the field mapping is migrated to in this action.
Yes. So let me actually open this. Yeah, so we have the field mapping. So, and this is, so what I mentioned, and let me mention again, is that if I was importing this into another instance, you must ensure that the second instance has the same objects, let's say objects and fields as per the form that you're going to import. So that's the only step you have to ensure that the instance you're migrating into has the same objects and fields.
Okay. Thanks, Tabs.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Those were awesome questions. We look forward to you using these features and giving us more feedback. Okay, so moving on, our next big enhancement is the Lightning performance. So when we launched 7.1, so 7.1 allowed us to now continue to be able to support mobile users on Salesforce and platform licenses. So that had been done up to some modules, and I remember in our release notes we had that highlighted that for performance module that was not yet supported. So now with 7.4, now we have extended the support of TaroWorks mobile users on Salesforce and platform licenses, of course, in addition with the existing partner community licenses. So that's one of the enhancements we have on the performance module. The other thing is that now performance module is now on Lightning. That's why I'm calling it the Lightning performance. So it means, starting TaroWorks 7.4, performance will now be on Lightning. So the other, now with those enhancements or with those improvements, we have additions like with you now be able to set job targets for TaroWorks mobile users using their profiles. So prior to 7.4, you would only set job targets based on users. So you'd have to select the users and then set the job targets. Another improvement is that with when you're creating your performance targets, you would only be limited to either creating weekly or monthly, but now you have a custom time frame. You can set between whatever time frames you would like. So with this, you can now set custom time frames, of course, in addition with the existing weekly and monthly setups. So let me show you a demo of this so that it's more clear. So I'm back to Salesforce. Now, first you'll notice that now we have it prior to 7.4, it was called performance, but now we call it performance target to differentiate. Okay, and it's in the upgrade steps as you shall see when you're upgrading to 7.4. So similar interface. So let's say if I try to create a new performance target. So the first step, so this is new now, this is a new interface. The first step is to select the record type. Am I setting a job target or am I setting a performance indicator? So job target is how many times a job is completed, whereas a performance indicator is how many records, because you could have a job that has repeat sections, so those will be multiple records created. So maybe let's, hope I have one to set. let's say, for example, we select a job target, at least to showcase those new features. Then the next step, as you'll see, you'll have now you select the users based on their profiles. So meaning that if I wanted to set targets for 20 users, instead of selecting the 20 users one by one, I can just select their profiles, and that's what I'll be adding here. So if I had additional list of profiles, I'll be able to add them here. Okay, and then now this brings to the, can I see the usual page? So let's say, what jobs do I have here? New sites, new well sites. Let me just call it new well sites. Okay, then now select the job is to register new well sites. So this is the new time frame we're talking about. So initially you'd only have weekly and monthly setup, but now you have custom setup. So if I select on custom, then I have the flexibility to select which dates I want, for example. So if I select maybe the next, those few days, and then maybe these are well sites, new well sites, I'll say maybe 3. Then I'll apply it to all the users. So this is as you know the initial setup. So the only change here is that you are able to have a custom time frame apart from the weekly and monthly setup. And then you would save. Okay, so how that would look, and I would have to sync my mobile. Let me quickly show you. Let's leave the job. Sync. So I want to show you now how that reflects on the performance tab as the mobile user. Yeah, so but however, we'll have more details on our support site once. Sorry, I wanted to show you the performance. Okay, so initially I had set a different job target for another job. So this is the one we've just set up right now, new well sites, and then the user can be tracking their progress here. So same for the indicators, I had one already set up, then the user is also able to track their progress on the indicators and also on the job targets. So that's the improvement on performance. The major one being it's now on Lightning, and now we can set targets for mobile users using their profiles and also the ability to have custom timeframes. Good. Any question on performance?
Not for now. Thank you, Tabs.
Okay, good. Right, so moving on. So we talked about Lightning performance. Now we go to the other additional improvements. So the first one is we had a character limit for the Drilldown hierarchy name, whereby it was only limited to 30 characters. So this was bit challenging because the Drilldown hierarchy name is what you're telling the mobile users to do. So now starting TaroWorks 7.4, we have removed that limit, and also you can use the special characters like the and sign without it displaying different features. So that's one of the improvements here, and you can see like the screenshot I have here. The title is more than 30 characters. This was about 60 something if I'm not wrong. So that's another good improvement for the drill down hierarchy. You can accommodate a drill down hierarchy name for the mobile user. Okay. Then the other nice feature is dynamic operations improvement. So with dynamic operations, we have a new checkbox here called Run Hidden Dynamic Operations. And this is added at the form level to specify whether the dynamic operations should run or not when the question is hidden. So what this means is, let me just show you where we put this, or we set up this. So on the form, so let's say if I don't think I have a form dynamic ops, but we would set it up when you're starting the form here. on the settings page, where you take the title, you add the description, then this is where you would check this checkbox. So this will allow you to hide the questions, driven by dynamic operations that the mobile user doesn't necessarily need to see. A good example I would use is, for example, if you have, let's say you have a repeat section and the number of repeats is being driven by a number question that's being calculated using dynamic ops. So for example, let's say you're registering members and there's a question that a preceding question that is using dynamic operations to calculate. So for the mobile user, filling out the form, they may not necessarily need to see that question, because that will save them time to just hit next, because there's no action needed from them, and then just proceed to just capturing the community members, for example. So with this check, we are going to improve the mobile user experience, because they'll now not need to just click next, because the dynamic or the questions being populated by dynamic operations require no action from them. So that's a good one, a good feature, a good improvement that will improve. One, will save time for the mobile user and also give them a good experience as they go about their field work. All right, so I believe that brings us to the end of the new features. So as per every new upgrade, we like to touch on the best practices, and this we have them on our website or support site rather. So the first best practice we recommend is that you read the release notes, and this will always be accompanied with every webinar or new release that we have. We have the release notes, which basically will tell you what's coming, what you should expect, what you should do in preparation for the new upgrade. Then if you are doing your first upgrade, so if you're upgrading TaroWorks for the first time, we highly recommend that you log a support ticket so that support team can help you through your first upgrade. So if you're doing the first upgrade, reach out to support by logging a ticket so that we can guide you through that over call. The other best practice is to ensure that your mobile users work offline during the time that you are doing the upgrade. So this will ensure there's no data loss, and as they work offline, also ensure that it's best to have them sync before you proceed with the upgrade. And then the last step the last best practice is to ensure you follow the upgrade steps. So with every new release, we also add the instructions on how to go about the upgrade. So we highly recommend you go through them and then follow them as they are listed. Great. That brings us to the end of this presentation. I will now pause and open the session for any questions or comments regarding TaroWorks 7.4. Over to Irani. We have any questions on what covered in 7.4?
Thank you, Tabs.